I'm switching from the Nikon Z6 to the Fujifilm X100V. Yeah, I know, not something you hear often, right? Hello, my name is Justin and I'm a professional photographer based out of Kentucky. I know what you must be thinking. Going from a full frame camera down to an APS-C crop sensor camera? Shouldn't that be backwards? Well, usually yeah, most people choose to upgrade their APS-C camera and then move up to a full frame sensor camera for reasons such as improved image quality, depth of field, and noise reduction. But here I am going from a full frame camera down to an APS-C camera. Well, that's because the X100V is better than Nikon Z6 for everyday use. Here's why. Reason number one, the compact size of the X100V makes it a super portable camera for everyday use. Number two, it's less intimidating than a full frame interchangeable lens camera. Number three, the X100V is not a bad camera in the slightest. The compact size of the X100V makes it a super portable camera for everyday use. Carrying around a camera with you daily can lead to you taking more shots, and more shooting means you're practicing more, thus making you a better photographer as long as you're putting thought into what you're shooting. In short, you're taking less snapshots and more intentional photos than you would with something like your phone. Not to mention, obviously, just how easy it is to carry around the X100V. It's super slim, it's not nearly pocketable, but it's still smaller than carrying around a full-frame DSLR. As for the ergonomics of the X100V, I have absolutely no complaints with the body. It feels good in the hands and handles well and never feels too small, too big, it feels just right. That brings up point number two. The X100V is less intimidating than a full-frame camera. I don't encourage rule breaking, but I've noticed that sometimes people will notice and mind a bigger, bulkier camera and may not even let you photograph in an area and will ask you to leave. Whereas if you're using a more discreet camera such as the X100V, nobody may even notice it or come up to you to tell you anything about it. Overall, the form factor of the X100V makes it a much more pleasant item to be around by those around you. It feels less intrusive, and especially if you hold it out like a phone, you look much more friendlier than if you were to put it up to your eye. So this makes it an ideal camera for things such as street photography. Adding on to the looks of the X100V, there's no denying that this is a nice looking camera. Now that's not to say that that's the only reason why I got this, but it is nice that the really capable camera that the X100V is also looks really good. And you don't look ridiculous carrying it around all day. It looks very casual and you won't get stopped by people asking you why you have a big bulky camera around and what you're up to. Reason number three, the X100V is not a bad camera in the slightest. The X100V has a great lens on the front, which is good considering that the lens is built into the body and you can't change it. The body has an in-camera flash, which I find to be pretty good for my on-the-spot flash needs. And most importantly, the sensor-lens combo produces really great images, which I'm super happy with. The shooting experience with the X100V is amazing. You can choose to have a more tactile feel with the built-in knobs, which physically move and thus set the in-camera settings. But if you also want to, you can go more traditional and you can set up the camera so that it works based off the back and front dials. So it's a bit quicker than if you were to use the knobs in the camera, but me personally, the reason I bought this camera was so that I would have that more tactile and involved feeling with my photographs. Those were all the positives that I have to say about the X100V. Now, let's look at the other side of the coin and address some of the cons that people have with this camera. Con number one, the camera is APS-C. Yes, the sensor is APS-C, but I really don't see that as being a shortcoming here because of the 26 megapixel sensor that takes great images, and for the purpose of an everyday camera, it's perfect. Con number two, the X100V has a fixed lens. Yes, it's a fixed lens, but I like that because it simplifies my choices by giving me none at all to begin with. I'm very happy with the lens on the front, and it's a big improvement from the previous version of the X100. In my opinion, this lens doesn't leave me wanting more and is perfect for what I need it for. Another problem that people may have with the X100V is its price. Yes, at $1,400, this camera is very expensive. This is definitely a luxury product. But for the build quality, everything that it comes with, such as the lens, the sensor, and the user experience, I would say that all that wrapped together is a worthwhile investment in gear if you can afford it. Con number four that people may have with the X100V is its single card slot. Yes, it only uses a single card slot, but for me personally, I won't be shooting anything too important with this. Also, if you just want to experience less card failures, you can always invest in higher quality SD cards, such as the Sony Tough cards. The compatibility of the X100V only goes up to UHS 1, which is not that big of a deal because the write speed on here more than fits my need. But for those of you that are looking for faster burst rates, this camera may fall short for you. Now, buying a higher price and higher quality SD card doesn't mean that your chances of it corrupting are zero. There's always a chance. But you greatly reduce that chance by investing in higher quality equipment than skimping out and buying something cheap. Something else that people might be wondering about the X100V is its overheating issue. Now, this has become a big enough concern that even Fujifilm has put out a statement regarding the X100V overheating. In my personal experience, yes, the camera gets warm. Even during the setup of this camera when I first got it, just being on the menu changing settings caused the camera to get warm, but it was never uncomfortable, nor was it ever hurting me. I have not used this to record video yet, but if my experience so far tells me anything, is that I'm guessing that video recording on the X100V will be the mode that makes the X100V overheat. The camera will give you visual warnings in the form of icons. First, it will indicate early overheating, and when it has finally reached its thermal limits, it will then promptly shut down. Me personally, I won't be using the X100V for video recording, but if that's what you're looking to use the X100V for, this is not the camera for video recording, because it will most definitely overheat. As for photo taking, this camera will more than likely never overheat on you, and so far, I have experienced no problems with it. I did notice very early on that the X100V has a really short battery life. On my days out with it, I usually manage to get around 300 images, if not more, just before the icon on screen told me that the battery had become depleted. Now, 300 images is around the number that Fujifilm claims on their site that you should be getting from one full charge battery. I honestly don't mind the battery life because in my day-to-day life, I don't expect to be taking more than 300 images daily. The X100V has a USB-C cable port which will allow you to charge the camera. This means that you can plug this into your car and have the battery recharge as you drive around. Overall, I haven't had any issues with the battery life and it more than meets my needs. Although, if I were to go on some sort of big trip where I would be taking lots of photos and the X100V would be my only camera, I would strongly advise that you go and buy more batteries so that way your camera lasts you throughout your day. The sore thumb issue with the X100V is that the weather sealing is incomplete out of the box. This is by far my biggest problem with the X100V. The fact that it's not 100% weather sealed out of the box and that you need to buy extra accessories for the camera to be officially weather sealed. This results in you needing to spend about $140 more on top of the actual price tag of the camera to complete that weather seal. Now, I don't think anyone will take this expensive camera out into thunderstorms, but I still think that it's a very wise investment to go ahead and complete that weather seal so that way you have nothing to worry about while out shooting. Now, not just water, but any other foreign object may just get inside of the lens because of how far out the camera element sticks out while focusing at certain distances. This could result in things such as dust and other stuff that you just don't want getting into your camera lens. Whether you use official Fujifilm equipment or not, it's all up to you. I definitely still recommend that you do complete the weather seal on the X100V. Me personally, I would put a filter on this anyway just for scratch and bump protection because you don't want insurance after you've crashed, you want it before the crash happens. And that's how I would see a filter on this camera anyway, considering that I would be taking it with me daily. The somewhat redeeming quality here is that Fujifilm doing this results in the profile of the camera when not in use being much smaller than if they just did this out of the box. I know that they're selling a solution to the problem that they could have hypothetically fixed, but yes, it would have been nice to just have it sealed out of the box, but for those that don't need it, it helps keep the profile of the camera small. Well, there you go. Those were my pros and cons of the X100V, and obviously I believe that the pros far outweigh the cons, which is why I believe that the X100V is a better camera than the Nikon Z6 for everyday use, ranging from its compact size, its friendly look, and how overall the X100V is a superb piece of equipment. All this together makes the X100V my personal choice for an everyday camera. Alright, and that just about wraps it up for this video. If you have found this video useful, please consider dropping a thumbs up. And if you have any further questions, please drop a comment down below and I'll get to you as quick as I can. My name is Justin. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.